The month of March 2021 is almost here, and it seems like we have an ever so slightly slower month for book releases. That's still not to say I didn't have to chop off my list at the knees and try to fit a reasonable amount here, but it was more manageable than the past. Still, if you're just hooked on reading anything new, I have a handful of the best looking books for you today. I really tried to narrow this list down to books I am personally very excited for, and I would read and review for you guys. So for the books I don't mention, you can comment down below and let everyone else know about them. That would be super awesome. Starting on March 2nd, we have 5 exciting books releasing. The first one is The Conductors. One of the most exciting books on this list in my opinion, and it feels great to start off with it. The Conductors is a debut novel described to be a murder mystery set in a post-Civil War Philadelphia with some magical elements. It follows the story of Hetty and Benji, a couple that solves crimes while they try to unravel why one of their friends was killed. When I saw one of the characters is a former conductor of the Underground Railroad, I immediately wanted to read it. That's so fascinating to me. The cast, the setting, the plot, the magic, because only black people are able to practice celestial magic, it all sounds very unique to me. A Desolation Called Peace. This is the sequel to A Memory Called Empire, a very loved adult sci-fi that released in 2019. People always tell me, yeah Holly, not enough people read this. This is an excellent sci-fi series, and one of the more criminally underrated ones, and honestly, I'm just happy to see it finally get its continuation. The story involves fun sci-fi tech, a palace intrigue, supposedly great character development, and a whodunit murder mystery. That all sounds like great fun, as you're following a woman who has just become an ambassador of a planet that she admires and has studied in depth. She knows the Empire has aspects that are problematic, but in fact something very wrong and dangerous is going on, and it involves her, and she has to find out exactly what it is. I do own the first book, and now you should scream at me to read it. The Counselor. I don't know too much about this book, except it's totally something I'm in the mood for right now. All I know about it is it's a debut Machiavellian fantasy, which is just another word for sneaky, cunning, lacking a moral code, so to speak, in politics. It's following our protagonist, who was once an orphan but has suddenly caught the attention of the Queen with her extraordinary knowledge of a variety of languages, and is soon swapped from the streets to life in the palace. That is until tragedy strikes and the kingdom is left on her own shoulders. Now, reviewers who have read it have really enjoyed it. It's definitely one that's going to kind of fly under the radar, but hopefully giving it some spotlight today has encouraged some future readers to pick it up. The Stolen Kingdom. So this is a gorgeous cover to a new upcoming fantasy standalone with, fingers crossed, a gorgeous story. Centering around a lowly winemaker's daughter, Mara lives on a vineyard that produces the best wine.
Why not? I like wine, you like wine, everybody likes wine.
Who, under unbelievable circumstances, finds out that she's the long-lost heir to a stolen kingdom. The magic that she's kept secret her entire life is evidence of just that. Plenty of books feature the lost king/queen seeking to reclaim the throne trope, but I'm really hoping this novel doesn't follow a familiar path and can branch into a more unique playing field. It sounds like a really charming read, especially with the vineyard element to it, and apparently there is a slow burn enemies to lovers romance for those of you who look for that trope, so maybe that will entice you even more. Dead Space. No, not the video game franchise. In fact, I'm really surprised there's no trademark infringement happening with that title, and it's even sci-fi horror. I don't think it has anything to do with the video game franchise, but there has to be some major inspiration from it. This is following a lesbian detective who investigates a murder on a remote asteroid mining station. That's right, there are lots of LGBTQ+ representation in this book. Hester, the main character, is a lesbian, her love interest/colleague is a non-binary, and her partner on the case is a gay man. It really sounds like it's going to be an entertaining story, and I hate to bring it up again, but sci-fi horror that is anything similar to the Dead Space video games, I always want in my life, and what better opportunity than this book. The only book on March 4th I have for you is A Trial of Sorcerers. This is the first book to a new series that is also going to be set in Elise Kova's world of the AWAKENS. I believe this is going to be the third interconnected series to that world. I'm unsure if you can read this beforehand or if you need to read the others first, but in any case, What another pretty cover. This woman is blessed with beautiful covers every single time. This is following a young girl who goes against her family's wishes and enters a magical tournament, and if she wins, she gets to travel to a place she has always dreamed about, and that is the Elfin Kingdom, and prove herself as a sorcerer. We love us a mage fantasy, and this is exactly that. Moving on to March 9th, we have the second Belle. This is a little fantasy coming from Angry Robot, and it's a Eastern European mythology about Striga. However, Striga are considered a danger to others, and therefore are abandoned on the edge of the forest and offered up to keep the community safe and protected. Well, this in turn creates our conflict when our main character is born a Striga, and her and her mother are forced to leave their home. It sounds like a fairy tale full of heart. This author has a really good idea on their hands, and hopefully they can take the Slavic inspiration and turn it into something interesting. Sing the Forgotten. This is a YA fantasy that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Fellow reviewers that I trust have said this one is extremely good, and one of those hidden YAs that we are constantly digging in the dirt for. It's a gender-swapped Phantom of the Opera retelling. Isda, our phantom, is a girl with a monstrous face, twisted and scarred and terrifying to anyone who sees it. She's kept in a crypt under the opera house run by her foster father, only coming out to use the magic she was born with to change the memories of the patrons so that they keep wanting more of the performances. This is such a fantastic twist on what we know of Phantom of the Opera, and it really sounds like nothing I have ever read before. It may not be fast-paced and full of action, but more a compelling and haunting story. This is definitely one I will be reading in the near future. Sweet and Bitter Magic. This is another debut novel, and this is being compared to Sorcery of Thorns and The Girls of Paper and Fire, but most importantly, this is a girl-on-girl fantasy romance. Though I'm sure romance will be taking up a lot of the page time, the plot itself sounds really interesting. It tells the story of Tamsin, a powerful witch who has been banished from her world and cursed. She is unable to feel love or love anyone, and then we have Ren, who desperately seeks Tamsin's help to heal her ailing father. And the girls need to join forces to fight an evil plague that is spreading rapidly across the land and save their queendom. So if this is something you're looking for, it will be releasing on the 9th. We Shall Sing a Song into the Deep. This is another short novella, about 150 pages, in the genre of sci-fi. It's definitely throwing off a lot of nautical elements, which is very interesting. It's actually set in a post-apocalyptic space with our characters who have lived on an old nuclear submarine with one nuclear missile left. What the heck are they supposed to do with that missile? I don't know, but I'm really itching to find out. It totally gives me Subnautica vibes. Are there huge leviathans surrounding them? I kind of hope so. That's all I really know about this one, but I'm really looking forward to a haunting atmosphere because it sounds like it might be stressful to read, but in a good way. On March 10th, Magic Mutant Nightmare Girl comes out. Okay, so bear with me. The moment I saw this cover, I was quickly throwing it on my list, and then I read more about it and was shocked to see not really anyone talking about it because it sounds like Lollipop Chainsaw. Also, the main character's name is Holly. It needs to be here, right? This is a YA fantasy that is pitched as a queer Sailor Moon. It's about a girl who is obsessed with Harajuku fashion who joins an organization to fight mutants. I don't know, it sounds like it could be really weird. Honestly, I thought it was a graphic novel at first, but no, it's a full novel at almost 300 pages. We love to see it. On March 16th, Bones of a Saint comes out. I love this cover so much. I think it's designed in such a cool way with the author and title on the back of the jacket. Overall, this book sounds really cool, creative, and different. The only non-fantasy sci-fi book on this list, actually. That's right, this is a coming-of-age story set in Northern California in the late 70s. It's following a 15-year-old boy living in this backwater town that is ruled by a local gang called the Blackjacks, and they order him to break into a house of a local old man who just moved in. Over time, he begins to realize the wrong that this all causes and tries to find a way out. I really hope this book brings out a lot of vivid imagery, especially with that cover, which already does. It's starting out very strong. Though I don't read contemporary, I see myself picking this one up. On March 23rd, The Unbroken. This is a brand new first book to an adult high fantasy series. one that has a lot of military themes as it follows two characters, a soldier and a princess. The world as described is a fantasy version of the French Empire conquering and colonizing North Africa and subjugating its people. The adventure here just sounds so very large. Basically, for a while, if you've been waiting for an impactful fantasy to read, one that's going to eat away a lot of your time in a good way, The Unbroken is definitely going to scratch that itch just with what I'm reading so far about it. Also, apparently a ton of gay rep, which is great. Moving on to the final date, March 30th, I have a couple good books to round out the month. The first one being The Accidental Apprentice. Amanda Foody is an author I really enjoy reading from. I have yet to be disappointed by her books, and I was so thrilled to hear she was writing a middle grade fantasy, and I think this will fit perfectly into her storytelling wheelhouse. This book sounds so wholesome, delightful, and jam-packed with adventure. It's following 11-year-old Barclay, who is an apprentice to a mushroom farmer. Already whimsical as heck, he suddenly stumbles upon and bonds with a wolf-like beast, but because of this, the town banishes him, and you'll have to read the book to find out what happens next. It sounds so good, another I hope to pick up real soon, and it's not a long middle grade either, it's pretty short actually. And finally, I have Rule of Wolves. So I wasn't sure if I was going to mention this book or not because I'm still very undecided if I want to read it. I thought the first one was okay, and I really didn't like the shock value ending, so I'm unsure, but I know many of you are excited about it. The book community in general is super hype. This is the sequel to King of Scars, by the way. It's set in the Grishaverse. Not a whole lot to say with this one, as it's probably the most popular book on this list. But yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning still. Okay, so those are 15 book releases that I am keeping my eye on in March 2021. Not the craziest month, but a few weird, exciting things thrown in there. So I'm curious what you guys think in the comments. Are you going to pick any of these books up, whether it be in March or later on? If I helped you out here or learned about something, clicking the like button is the best way you can help me out. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing because I put out videos every single week. And until I meet again, happy reading.